It's time to step behind the scenes and take a closer look at the Owen Sound Attack. This is Bear Tracker Weekly. Here's your host, JC Coots.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Bear Tracker Weekly podcast. Well, all good things must come to an end, and the Owen Sound Attack Cinderella season has come to an end after a sweep to the London Knights. The Knights taking the final game, Game 4, by a score of 8-4 at a very loud and appreciative Bayshore Arena this past week. Unfortunately for the Attack, they ended up drawing one of arguably the best teams in all of junior hockey in the London Knights. They gave them just about everything they had in a couple of games, those series, but could not even steal a single game here, though it just tells you a lot about how good the London Knights are, yes, but also the fact that this team is growing and learning as they go. A young team that was not expected to do much has their season come to an end. And with that end, unfortunately, also comes to an end the OHL careers of Captain Landen Hookey, Alex Leonard, and Bruce McDonald. The three Attack overagers will be heading off to bigger things. Bruce and Alec, we know for sure, are off to go and play in the NCAA next year. Still waiting officially to hear what Landen Hookey is up to, although he has hinted on this podcast in the past that something is in the works. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for Landen Hookey, who this year definitely turned some heads around the OHL. He was listed in the OHL coaches poll as one of the most improved players. He also is the Attack's nominee for the Red Tilson Award for most outstanding player. We talked to Landen a little bit about that and to his teammates as well. That's all coming up on this week's episode. So Landen is going to be a guest this week, as will be Carter George, of course, the goaltender that shouldered the load for the Attack down the stretch and helped get them into the playoffs. We'll speak with Carter, plus Tristan Delisle, who had an outstanding season with the Attack, coming over in the Colby Barlow trade. We'll talk to him about his year with the team, plus the prospect of maybe playing with his brother after the OHL draft. All of that, plus head coach Scott Wray is going to be here this week, and another Media Room Roundtable to wrap things up on the season. Here we go. Episode 28 starts now. What can you say about the captain of the Owen Sound Attack, Landen Hookey? He found career highs this year in goals at 34 and assists at 70. He was over a point-a-game guy for the Owen Sound Attack, having never done that before in his OHL career. The best he ever was just under half a point per game. But he exploded this year, especially after he got the C on his jersey. Here's my conversation with Landen Hookey after the Attack's Game 4 loss to London. All right, Landen, obviously it's the end of the road for your OHL career here. It ends in a sweep to the London Knights. What did you think of the playoff series? What did it mean for your team to get to where they got to after everything that happened this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just more proud of every guy in that room that we got to playoffs. Start of the year, we were ranked to not make playoffs and everything, and I think I'm just proud of every guy for fighting as hard as they can to get into playoffs, especially for the OA group. I think we faced a good team. That's the best team in junior hockey right now. So, it's it's tough to go out like that. But at the same time, I think every guy in there tried their hardest, and they wanted to win. But at the end of the day, you're playing a really good hockey club. So it is what it is. But I'm just proud of every guy for doing what they did. So.
Your career ends with your name brought up in a couple of different awards. First of all, the Red Tilson Award for Most Outstanding Player. You're the Attack's pick for that award. Also today, the coaches poll came out, and when it came to Most Improved Player, you were ranked third for the Western Conference. Obviously, it's been an outstanding season for you. What does it mean to have your name associated with both of those?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, those are pretty prestigious awards, to be nominated for and, to get those. But, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do any of it with any of the guys in that room. I think, we pushed each other this year as a young group. And, I mean, I think I did everything in my capability, be better every day and, come to the ring with a good mindset, with a smile on my face and, bring good vibes to those guys. And, I couldn't be more grateful for, everyone that helped me out. So it's been great.
At the trade deadline this year, your name obviously came up a lot, and I think if you wanted to go somewhere, you could have. But based on what we've heard, you wanted to stay here and stay with this team and help them to the ultimate goal of getting into the playoffs. What did it mean to remain here when you could have gone somewhere else, or you could have been with a contending team?
Yeah, it meant everything to me. I mean, getting the C after that too, and leading these guys was an honor to me, and it was a lot of fun, and I love doing it, and staying here was the right choice for me. Everyone in that room wanted to win, and we came every night and played the style of hockey that I want to play at the next level. So I think that's going to help me, wherever I go next year. So yeah, it's been great, and I wouldn't change anything for what I did. So.
What do you predict? Unfortunately, you won't be here next year, but what do you predict for this young team? I mean, obviously, you've left an impression with the young guys on this team who are going to take what you've said and how you've led by example into their second season in the OHL for a lot of them. What do you see happening with this team moving forward?
Yeah, I think, those guys in there learned a lot this season, and I think the new coaching staff that came in this year, built a new culture for this organization. I mean, they're going to be unbelievable, I think, in this next couple of years, because the way that we're playing out there as a young group, showing, those top teams that, we're hanging there with them this year. I think next year, it's going to be fun to watch. The next year's coming because, those guys know how to play that hard-nosed game, and there's a lot of guys in that room that have a lot of skill and a lot of upside to their game, so it's going to be really cool to watch.
Reflecting back on your time here and your time also in Sioux during your OHL career, anything that's going to stand out to you? Any memories that you'll never forget after spending 4 years here?
Yeah, there's so many memories. You can't even think of them all. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's those relationships you build, and you're going to have those friends for your life. And I think I met so many people that are going to stick with me my whole entire life. And I think that's the biggest thing is you make those memories with those people, and they're by your side the rest of your life. So I think that's the coolest thing. And the coaching staff that teach you everything in this league, because you come in here as just a young buck, and then next thing you know, you're done. So I think they teach you so much, and I couldn't be more grateful for all those people that took time out of their lives to help me be a better player and be a better person at the end of the day. So it's been amazing.
Well, Landen, it's been a pleasure to watch you here in your time in Owen Sound. I think the fans here at the Bayshore tonight kind of let you know that they're not going to forget you anytime soon. So best of luck to you in your hockey career with whatever comes next.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Carter George finished the season with 17 wins for the Owen Sound Attack, and after 2 full seasons, he is still looking for his first playoff win. It came close, though. The Attack gave full effort with Carter behind them, but fell just short. There is no doubt that Carter George is one of the best in Canada, and no doubt he will wear the maple leaf again at next year's World Junior Hockey Championships. Here's my conversation with Carter George after the Attack first-round series loss to London. All right, Carter George, just looking back at that first-round series with the London Knights, obviously you took the team on your shoulders during that series, made some unbelievable, outstanding saves through the course of that series, and I think that kind of showed tonight when you were doing the handshake with the Knights. They held you back quite a bit to talk to you during that handshake line. What do you take away from this series as the goaltender?
Yeah, for me, it's just a lot of experience. I mean, playoffs is such a special time of year, and it's where all the scouts come to watch is playoff time. So for me, it was just getting the experience of these 4 games was huge for me, and know the pressure and know everything that comes with playoffs, and fortunate to be able to get that experience with this group of guys, and obviously the outcome didn't go our way, but I definitely think we learned a lot.
How valuable was it for the young guys on this team? There's so many rookies, so many very talented players that are going to have big years next year, but for them to get a chance to play against a top-tier team like this, to at least get to play in the playoffs, what does it mean for them to get that experience in?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, obviously our goal going into this season was to make playoffs, so all those young guys got that experience because we have a very young group in there, and for them to get that kind of experience in playoffs, it's huge for them down the road. So I'm not sure all of them know how important it was, but down the road they'll appreciate these 4 games here because they got a little taste of it and they understand it now, and I think it's just huge for all their development.
You're one of the leaders on this team, part of the leadership group. Unfortunately, tonight, the head of that group, the captain, Landen Hookey, plays his last game as an Owen Sound attacker. Just as the nature of the overage rules go, I'm sure we'd keep him if we could. But what does it mean for the season that he's had, the impact he's had on this team?
Yeah, I mean, he stepped into the role after we lost Smitty. He stepped into the captain role and took over that room. And for me, he was a great teammate and great person to be around. And he took our team to playoffs. He put our team on his back. Some nights he went out there and just put the puck in the net for us, and always got the guys going. So he's a really special player, and I'm so fortunate to be able to play with him. And for me, he stepped up in big moments for us and played big roles for us. And I'd say last year he didn't really quite get that opportunity, and now this year he stepped into those shoes and took a huge step. So for me, I'm really fortunate to be his teammate, and I was so happy to see what a great season he had, and see him nominated for that Red Tilson Award. It's incredible. He deserves it, all of it. So just hope he has, wishing him the best in the future, and hope whatever comes his way, it's all the best.
The OHL coaches poll came out today, and your name came up a couple of times as the best puck handling goalie, which, I mean, you scored a goal this year, so no surprise there, but also second best shootout goalie in the Ontario Hockey League. What's it like to start to get that recognition around the league and around the country as being one of the best goalkeepers at your age?
Yeah, for me, I try not to look at that kind of stuff. I just want to go out there and have fun and play for my team and give them a chance to win it night in and night out, and little things like that. I mean, it's just a little pump, a little bit of air in the tires, and gives you a little pat on the back. But showing that your work's paid off. But for me, I really don't put too much effort and thought into all that kind of stuff.
Looking through your crystal ball, Carter, knowing the lessons learned this year from a pretty young team, how do you see next year's team shaping up with all these guys having that extra experience behind them, that extra playoff experience behind them? It's got to be a pretty bright future from your perspective for these guys.
Yeah, obviously we have a very young group. We'll definitely be hurting losing our overagers and Hooks, Lenny, and Bruce there. So we're going to have guys to step up in those roles and play big moments for us and big minutes. But no, I think it's good. I think a lot of guys will take a big step next year. Got a lot of opportunity once again, and I'm excited to see guys like a Pierce Bowie step up, and a lot of the 07s and like a Nancy and Crawford, see what they can do next year with a lot more opportunities. So for me, I think it's awesome to see the path that these guys are going to next year, and having be a part of it. And for me, I think this team's got a bright future ahead of them.
Speaking of a bright future, too, the coaching staff heavily invested in the community. They're going to be sticking around as well. There was a guy in the stands tonight that had a give the coaches a raise sign that he was holding up. So what was it like for this first year of the coaching staff? What did you think of the job that they did with the team?
Yeah, going into it, I had no idea what to expect. I never really went through a coaching change. Last year was the first time, and for them to get rid of all of their staff and bring in a full new staff, no one really knew what to expect. And I think Razor, Riggs, and Shawsey came in and did an amazing job, and they really got the boys rallied around them, and I think it was a phenomenal job they did. And every night they had all the guys working hard and working their butts off, and it showed. Like, they call us no quit bears for a reason, because guys never gave up in that room, and I think a big reason for that was because our coaches kept them going. So I can't thank them enough. I mean, they were a huge part in our team and our development. So it's just incredible to see what they did, especially in their first years here.
Well, Carter, I know Attack fans are already counting down the days till you guys are back on the ice in September. I know that maybe you will be, or maybe you'll just be excited to enjoy the summer up in Thunder Bay. But either way, Carter, congratulations on a great season. Enjoy your summer off.
Thank you so much.
Following the Colby Barlow trade, Tristan Delisle established himself as one of the top centermen on the Owen Sound Attack. In fact, he spent most of his time with the team on the top line. And it did not go unnoticed, as he was named one of the best face-off men in all of the OHL in the most recent coaches poll. A second-year player, Tristan still has a bright future ahead of him. And it must have been a little bit of deja vu facing the London Knights, the team that Tristan, last year as a member of the Oshawa Generals, ended up losing to in the OHL final. Tristan played 21 games in the playoffs last season without recording a goal. He had 2 in 4 first-round games this year. Here's Tristan Delisle after the Attack's loss to London.
First off, just reflect back on this series with the London Knights. Anything learned by you, by your teammates, any important lessons that you pick up when you play such a good team?
Well, I mean, obviously playing a veteran team, you kind of learn what it takes to win, and obviously London coming off a Memorial Cup finals loss, they obviously know what it takes to kind of go to that next step, and we can learn what they do, habits players have on their team and stuff, and just learn, get better from that.
I see you got the Keep Climbing hoodie on here, which was inspired by Captain Landen Hookey. He played his last game here tonight as an overager. Any lessons you learned from the captain this year and what him not being around next year is going to mean?
Yeah, he was an extremely impactful player in my career, like playing with him for most of the year and stuff, being a great teammate towards me, welcoming when I got traded here, like if it wasn't for him, I don't think I'd have the year that I had. Like he was fantastic towards not only me but every single young guy.
Today the OHL coaches poll came out, and when it came to face-off guys, you were second by the coaches for best at face-offs. This is a pretty big honor for a second-year guy. What does it mean to be recognized by coaches around the league?
I mean, it obviously means a lot. Like face-offs is a big part of our game, and like for me, like to be recognized about something that I take so much pride in is obviously very meaningful, and that's something I can improve on. Hopefully, be first next year.
We're looking forward to next year. Obviously, this year, this team showed that there's some tremendous young talent that's coming up, and next year going to be 1 year older, going to be a little bit wiser. What do you see in the future for this Owen Sound Attack team?
Well, I think it's a very bright future. Like we got guys such as Bowie coming up, Zarowski coming up, 2 elite playmaker and snipers, and then we got a hard worker such as Ethan Kendrick coming up as well. So he's going to be a great player. He's going to be a great player in the future.
He's also standing right behind the camera right now, too. I think you owe him $20 now. I'll ask you about this, too. Looking ahead, the OHL draft is coming up. Your brother Max is highly ranked. He might not be around by number 5 when the Owen Sound Attack play, but if he is, what would it mean to maybe have a chance to share the ice with your brother on the team?
It honestly mean a lot. Like the OHL draft is unpredictable, so never say never. Maybe he'll end up here, but I love playing with him. I think he's a great player, great guy. So no, it means so much just playing with my younger brother. It's something that I never thought would be even closely possible.
All right, Tristan, well, it was great to get to know you better over the course of this season. I think we can probably say that the Attack have officially won that Colby Barlow trade between you and David Bedkowski. You guys have been just phenomenal all season, and we look forward to seeing you again next year. All the best to you. Enjoy your summer.
I appreciate that. We'll be better next year.
Scott Wray said that he was going to bring in a whole new mentality to the Owen Sound Attack, take them back to that blue-collar kind of team that always was a dog on the bone. And it would appear that both he and his coaching assistants, Brandon Shaw and Regan O'Grady, definitely delivered on that promise this year, bringing the Attack back into the playoffs. Here's my conversation with Scott Wray after the Attack's loss to London.
All right, Coach, obviously a tough one tonight for the team, bit of an emotional game with the series sweep to London Knights. What were your thoughts on the series and anything that the team learned during the course of this series, playing such a high-level team like the Knights?
Yeah, obviously going into the series, you want to steal a game from them, and, you start there. But I think, when you're playing a high-tempo, experienced team like them, I think you learn a lot, right? Like you watch the series and you watch how hard their guys work for pucks, and it's not a greed thing, it's just a habit thing, and it's what the Hunters have taught for years. And that's one of the things when I took the job here. You wanted to bring back attack hockey and never quit, and we learned that you got to be elite. And you got to be hungry as an elite player to get to the next level. So it was quite impressive watching how hard they worked. I learned a lot from that.
What'd you think of the young guys this series, like the Pierce Buoys, the Michael Decks, the Ethan Kindrys, Cole Zaraski? There's more than just those 4 guys, but they all got their first taste of playoff hockey.
Yeah, I thought, you know what, like with that many 16-year-olds, we had just as many 16-year-olds as they had, like, World Junior guys, I think it was. So, you know, like, and I'm not far off with that. So, you know, they got some really good experience. You know, when Elliott came in, he defended very well. And that's who he's going to be. And, you know, it was exciting to watch that. And Pierce was a marked man at 16 years old. And, you know, I feel for him because there was no room for him out there whatsoever. And Cole was Cole. Like, I thought he did a really good job. He's really going to be a heck of a player in this league. I could see him, you know, if I wouldn't be far off if he's probably going to score 30 goals next year. So, you know, and Michael Deck, he showed that he's going to be really, really good for us during the season. And it was good for him to learn what playoff hockey is and how much time you have and how much you really don't. So I'm really excited for them. I'm excited for the other kids that, you know, that we picked up along the way too, that have really never played playoff games, and they showed some good things.
Carter George this series, obviously he had a lot to carry on his shoulders, but it, for the most part, didn't seem like he was on his own out there. He had a lot of support, a lot of goals scored, so it seemed like Carter had a lot of help in this series from his teammates.
Well, I would say I don't know if we helped them too much. You know, when you're giving up 50 shots a game, you know, it's tough. And, you know, you really show your youth when you're playing a high-octane team like them and you're chasing them all game. And, you know, when you score first, you got to keep that lead so that you're not chasing the game. But Carter was sensational. Like, he's a high-end goaltender for a reason. And, you know, he's going to have a fantastic career. And, you know, and it's good for him to get those moments, you know, like for this series for him, he gets a lot of shots, and, you know, it's the best way to develop as a goalie. And, you know, I'm sure he's going to be off to Ontario for a little bit here on their playoff run. So, you know, you can't ask for anything more. He's such a leader in the room. I think he's taken a step in that direction, too, of being a little more of a vocal leader, which your elite goalies need to be sometimes. They need to give you a kick in the butt and tell you to get going.
You never know what's going to happen by next season, but one thing we know for sure, 3 guys did play their last game tonight, of course. Alec Leonard, Bruce McDonald, Landen Hookey. An emotional night for the 3 of them, and this comes on a day when Landen Hookey is named the 3rd most improved player in the coaches poll. Just your thoughts on those guys, the season that they've had with the Owen Sound Attack.
Yeah, I'll start with Alec Leonard. You know, he came in when Smith got hurt for us, and you know, I think everybody knew we were going to move Smith at one point, and you know, we didn't know what we really were getting, and you know, he was fantastic, and then he got injured himself, and then he's been working through so much with that injury every day. He's probably going to get surgery at the end of the year. I've had the same injury. It's not fun to play every day with it. You can't lift your arm above your head. You got no strength to push off. So I admire how hard he worked. He's a heart and soul guy. He's a dressing room guy, and you know, he was a lot of fun to be around this season. Bruce McDonald, he was one of those kids that you know, like, he's 20 years old and you got to look at him a couple times because you still think he's 17, 18, and he's just full of energy and a really good kid, and a hell of a skater, one of the best skaters I've ever seen. I think I would compare him to Brandon Coe that I had in North Bay, and you know, I'm looking forward to what those 2 guys can do at NCAA, and Landen's amazing. I wish I could have had Landen for 3 years, you know, see what we could do with him. He turned himself in a heck of a player this year. Not, like you said, being 3rd most improved, I would say he was probably one of those kids that if you just let him develop and play, he wouldn't have been in that category, because everybody would have been like, oh, there it is. So I really believe in him as a player, and I really believe in him as a leader and a person, and I'm looking forward to see what he could do with the free agency signing here.
There's a sign up in the stands tonight. I'm sure you probably didn't see it, but it said that the coaches deserve raises based on the effort this year. And obviously between yourself, Brandon, Regan, you guys are really becoming a great part of the community. You're going to run a hockey camp here this summer. Traditionally, most coaches would be gone after the playoffs end and wouldn't be seen from again, but it seems like the three of you are really embracing this community.
Oh, we love the area, and it's one of those things that you got to be all in. You can't just be 1 foot in, and you gotta embrace your community. And my wife and I have been looking at houses and looking because we know you have to be dug in to get the most out of yourself. And Brandon's already bought a house. Regan's got a 2-year lease on an apartment. So yeah, like we want to do things and be part of the community and be part of the. We want the community to be proud of us too, and accept us as part of their own, and part of that is doing a hockey school, doing other, we're going to probably do a March break camp, a Christmas camp, things that just, brings more attention to the team, and I think that's huge.
Well, Coach, we're lucky to have you. Congratulations on a successful first year here in Owen Sound.
Thank you very much.
Well, for one final time this season, we got the Media Room Roundtable together. Here's Mark, Adrian, Matt, Greg, and myself before the Attack's loss to London this past week.
All right, Media Room Roundtable for what might possibly, maybe be the final time this season.
You said that before.
I've said it before and been wrong, so maybe I'll be wrong again about this one. But if it's not, we'll make this the best one yet. Joined by Mark, Adrian, Matt, Greg. Thank you, guys. Let's before we talk about the series, let's talk about some news this week. First of all, the Red Tilson Award nominees came out. Every team has an MVP nominee for the Owen Sound Attack. It's Landen Hookey, which some people might be a bit surprised by that, considering this is a team that Carter George is also on. But Landen's last year, of course, it might be his last game tonight. What do we think about Landen Hookey and what he's meant, and does he have a chance at this award?
I don't know if he has a chance, let's be real. I think it's down between Michael Misa, Nick Lardis. I know Greg Cowan had a Twitter poll going. Who else did you have in there? You had
Dickinson and Jackson Parsons.
Yeah. And I still think they're probably in the second tier.
I think the first two are probably it's going to be between Lardis and Misa is my guess.
But you have to nominate someone, and it's recognition, and whether you win it or not, I think it's just a nice recognition, a real honor for Landen Hookey to get that kind of praise. And I feel like we've probably talked about this a lot, but the fact that, and probably the last time we thought we might be doing the last roundtable, we said he stayed here, he wanted to be the leader. From start to finish, he was super consistent all year long, leading scorer on the team. So I get why they went with him here, and you could make the argument that Carter George is the team's MVP and most outstanding player, but from start to finish and for his leadership, I think it's nice that they're recognizing a Landen Hookey, because let's be real, Carter's going to probably have another chance next year, and it goes back to what we were saying. Is he winning? Probably not. But he gets that recognition, and I think he truly deserves it.
I think it's actually more than just recognition. I think if you look at what the award, the Red Tilson Award, is for the most outstanding player, not the most valuable player. I really think the most valuable player on this team is Carter George. But if you look at performances this season alone, the most outstanding performance is Landen Hookey. He went from a 30-point guy to a 70-point guy in just one season. He's the backbone of the team. He drags the guys into the fight. He's not afraid to drop the gloves. Game in, game out here at the Bayshore, he's the one that really gets the crowd going. I don't think it's a stretch to say Carter didn't have his best season. I think he was very good, and he was very good leading up to the World Juniors. He had a little lull after that. Everybody kind of like expected it / was okay with him having a little lull, and then he came down the stretch, and he was the one that really pulled them into the playoffs, being the most valuable person to the team. But throughout the year, I really think it was Landen Hookey who was the most outstanding, and his doubling point totals in just a season is pretty outstanding to me.
Speaking of all the points you just made, Adrian, the coaches' poll results also came out today, and Landen Hookey was third when it comes to most improved player for Western Conference players, behind Jack Nesbitt of Windsor, and Charlie Paquette of Guelph. Also making the list today were Tristan Delisle, second best on faceoffs in the West, and Carter George showed up in two categories: best puck handling goalie, which I think that's 100% vote here around this table, and best shootout
breakout goalie as well. He made that list too. Any thoughts on the coaches poll, guys?
Well, I'll pick up with Landen, and I've said it on this podcast before. I did not see this season coming for Landen offensively, and I think it's a no-brainer and deserving for him to get recognition as one of the most improved players, and not just the Western Conference, but in the Ontario Hockey League. Landen, his point production in his overage season is just fantastic, right? 30-goal scorer, 70-point guy, and that was not really a track that he was on. He was a big body in the OHL who could, I think that coaches were probably trying to develop more of his physical game, and he went down a path in his overage season, and it's a credit to him, right, for taking advantage of the resources around him and ensuring that he put himself in the best possible position to succeed, and he did that. He was given an opportunity. I recall having a conversation with Landen in October, November, very early in the season when it was apparent, where the Attack were at in terms of their lineup and their depth, and that he was going to be a player who played a lot of minutes in a lot of big situations for the team, and he said, I've been waiting for this. Like, that's what he wanted, this opportunity, and for him to be able to take that opportunity and turn it into a productive season, hats off to him, and I think it's good that he's getting recognized with that most improved player recognition, and also to tag on what we were just talking about, the Red Tilson Award nominee.
I'll talk about Tristan Delisle because he's a sophomore player in this league, a 17-year-old season, some would say. And to be recognized in the face-off category, second best, you usually think of good face-off guys as veterans in the league. And the guy who won it, Pano, is an overage player, right? So it's impressive. I remember a story I did with him earlier this year when he first got traded here. He talked about being a bit of a face-off geek and really digging into the details and taking pride in that part of his game. So for the coaches to recognize a young player being good at that skill. And, he's been a top-line center for this team for the bulk of the season since he got here, which is impressive for a young guy, too. So, obviously valuable. And, I think Owen Sound did pretty good with that trade. Barlow going to Oshawa, get Betkowski likely being captain this year on the team next year. Delisle, face-off, superhero, and a boatload of draft picks. Looking pretty good for a rebuilding club.
I like how we come back around to what we talked about at the start of the year, the trade with Oshawa and Owen Sound, and now we're almost at the part where
I've been reflecting, Mark. I've been reflecting.
But I like that we're almost at the part now where we know who was the winner and who was the loser, right? If Oshawa doesn't win the championship, did they lose the trade?
You can make that case for any team that always acquires a player when the goal is the championship, and I guess so. Yeah, considering the Oshawa Generals were in the OHL final last season, like their only goal this season was to win the J. Ross Robertson Cup, right? At the very least, be back there. I won't say who they'll probably be. At the very least, be back there in the J. Ross Robertson Cup again. But it's a trade of circumstance, right? But you're right. For the Generals to get what they were hoping for,
I'm being technical, right? But I think you just look now, like you said, Tristan Delisle became your number one center, and then David Betkowski. If he has a full healthy season next year, this guy's just going to be like a warrior out there, and we already know that. So.
And then on top of that,
gotta swing for the fences though too if you're a competing club.
No, and I get it, right? I get it.
No, but then they use some of those picks to go get Cole Zarowski as well, right? Yeah. So you got three guys that are going to be the nucleus of your team for another this season, next, and the year after. So for 3 seasons, you traded away your captain and your leading goal scorer. And did he perform to the standards that he was here in Owen Sound in Oshawa? I think that.
Good start in the playoffs, though.
I think that remains to be seen. Yeah. I think he's going to be judged on the playoffs, and as will the Oshawa Generals, right? It wasn't really about his regular season. So, to your point, for sure. Oshawa, if they're going to be considered, winners, I think both teams can be winners if Oshawa, the Attack got what they needed in Oshawa.
It's like the Matthew Stafford Lions trade.
We need a winner.
We're not talking Lions football either. Come on.
Well, if the Oshawa Generals win the OHL championship, the Attack still get what they got. Both teams win. I think so.
There can always be multiple winners, right?
Everyone wins in the end on this broadcast.
All right.
Guys, just looking quickly ahead to the OHL draft, one of the names that's ranked near the top of the draft is Max Delisle, which is Tristan's younger brother. Obviously, the Delisle boys would love to play with each other. Tristan certainly hinted at it. Is there any possibility he's going to be left around by number 5?
I think there's a possibility, but in all the conversations I had with those who know a bit about this OHL priority selection, it seems unlikely that Max Delisle will be available at number 5. I'd also point out that the Ottawa 67s are picking third. I'm not saying that he's going there, but the Delilles are from the Ottawa area, so there's a nice little hometown sort of matchup right there, and that's if Max is there after Peterborough and Guelph pick. Who knows? Max Delisle, Mark can speak a lot more to this, and Adrian as well. You guys got a close-up look at him at the OHL Cup, but from all reports and anything I've seen video-wise and conversations I've had, this is a good player, and is going to has a good opportunity to become a pretty impactful guy in the OHL.
And I think in the past in the OHL draft, there was a lot of guys trying to call their shot, right, saying where they want to go. But with the new rule changes, it'll be interesting to see if this is the first year where there's a little less of that, right, where there are players, you get picked, all right, we're going to figure this out. And I don't think the Delilles would have been in that camp either, where they're saying, I'm only going to Owen Sound. I'm going to sit out. No, you're not. He's going to come in and be a really good player right away in the OHL. To me and Adrian, when we were there, I think the consensus is there's 5 players that could be in the conversation for number 1. He's one of them. But I think when you look at those 5 players, physically, he might be the most ready to step into the OHL.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. I think of the 5, there's the 5 and then there's the rest, really. And of those 5, he's the most OHL ready. He could step into a playoff game right now and potentially
hold his own.
Hold his own and maybe make an impact. We were there in the semifinals. He threw 2 absolutely huge hits, just annihilating big guys on the other team. So it's not like he was going for little guys or anything. He dominated on faceoff, so he learns from his brother, and his shot was unbelievable. So if the attacker lucky enough to pick him, I think it's going to be a great pick. There's some other guys in the draft that might be more dynamic offensively, but full 200-foot game, I think that Max would be the best pick possible for the Owen Sound Attack at number 5. But then just to go with who else could be available, I think the 4 other guys, which could be varying in wherever they go, would be great selections as well. I think the Attack are in the best possible situation. The fact that they weren't in the lottery, nobody's a clear-cut number 1, so it's not necessarily, you could get your number 1 pick at number 5, is basically what I'm trying to get to. And I think whoever goes number 1 is going to lucky to get that player, if it's Cameron Warren, if it's Caden McGregor. But if it's Max Delisle to the Owen Sound Attack fans should be very excited because he's a different player than Tristan Delisle as well.
I'll just say this before you jump in, Greg. You say that there's 5 players in the conversation that could ultimately go at number 1, and you're picking at number 5. I don't remember the last time a team picking at number 5 is going to get a player that a week out from the draft people were making an argument for to go number 1. So that's it kind of all worked out nicely for our Own Sound.
I also don't we know that the OHL priority selection is going to play out. Who knows, right? Like the general manager of the Attack, Dale DeGray, has his own ideas about who he wants to draft in that position. And just because there seems to be a kind of a consensus about who the top 5 might be, doesn't mean that any of those teams picking in the top 5, I don't want to use the term off the board, but these GMs and their scouting departments, they take a lot of time throughout the season and take a look at these players and have a very good idea of who they want to get, right, in terms of positional need, in terms of the type of player. So who knows how things will play out, right? It's a lot of pressure to put on not just the Attack but Max, right? We don't know how things are going to go. But I agree. It would be a nice story for Owen Sound if Tristan's brother did end up
1-2 down the middle. You got T Delisle and M Delisle. It'll be kind of
no, forget that. Just Delisle.
I just wanted to flag 2 local guys, there's because it's
local reporter in them, folks.
It's hard to tell with all the player residency rules changing. They all play across the province, but you got Lyndon Cabral, who was with the Don Mills Flyers, who's playing in the OHL Cup final game. He grew up in Hanover, and Jake Murray, who was with the Huron Perth Lakers at the OHL Cup, grew up in Meaford. So if you're following along with the draft, you got 2 boys from Greg County to follow along with, and pressure makes diamonds.
They say both those guys, if you are watching the draft, could go late first, early second. So look for them to go in that range. You never know, though, at the end of the day.
There's no guarantees? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
I
guys.
echo Matt's sentiments.
Finally, we'll talk about what's ahead of us here tonight, which is Game 4 of the London Knights and Owen Sound series. We're not going to make predictions or anything like that. I'm just going to ask for your thoughts and reflections on what we've seen. For me, I think number one, it's the fact that Carter George, he doesn't seem to have had to carry the team on his own. Like, he's had lots of support, it would seem. A number of guys have stepped up. They've been able to get some goals on the board in the last couple of games, for sure. Game 1, different story. And number 2, we talked about how beneficial this was for the rookies. Talking to Michael Deck and Pierce Bowie after Game 2, both of them commented on what they've learned, how fast the game is, how it changes in the playoffs, how it's more physical. So this obviously has not been all for naught. There's been a lot of important lessons for a very young team. That's what I'm taking away from this, even if it ends up being a sweep here tonight. But what are your thoughts on the series?
I would agree. I would think if you're the attack young players, you're hopefully taking a little something, and it might be hard in the moment, but when you reflect after this series, and hopefully Owen Sound can get on the board here in game number 4, but you just see what you have to be a championship team in this league. And a lot of these Knights are past champions. They're hoping to repeat. I just watched their penalty kill the other night, and they would flip a puck out into the neutral zone, the Knights, and Sam Dickinson took off. Now, he's like a special talent, so not everyone's a Sam Dickinson, but you just see how smart and how locked in they are on every single play. And I think the young attack players will take something from that. And I like that you mentioned that Carter George, I kept saying he's going to be the X factor in the series for Owen Sound. I still believe that. He's kept them in some games, those last 2, with some timely saves as well. But the fact that they got him a little run, I guess it's not run support when you're trailing, but the fact they've put up some offense and been right in those games the last 2, it's an encouraging sign. All right, no predictions, by the way. Yeah, I will say this. If anyone tuned in last week, I'm not making any more predictions, okay?
I left a pen in London, and I am intending to go retrieve it.
There you go.
All right, so that's all I'll say. I hope that things work out so I can go get my pen, Greg Cowan.
I'll just say no matter what happens, they're not going to beat London in this first round. So I was reflecting a little bit
you sound
today.
as certain as you did in mid-January.
I've been wrong.
It's a race, Greg Cowan.
But upon that reflection, reading back some stories, the word that kept coming to my mind was healing, because if you guys remember at the end of last season, it was raw. It was raw. There was anger, angst, anxiety there was with the fan base. What's going to happen with this team? Coaches all gone. New coaches in. And, I mean, same result. Team finished, bottom of the standings. Might get swept out of the first round. But how much better does everyone feel to have a little hope on the horizon?
Big time.
And so I think as we sit here looking at the Bay the same way we did exact same last season, a lot better feeling for a lot of people in this building coming back next year to training camp. And what a training camp that's going to be. I mean, it's going to be wild at Shallow Lake next year as the repairs finish here.
I think
go ahead.
Just one thing that I noted in Game 3 is on the air was that they kept learning from their mistakes or their past experiences. So they went down. They're down 4-3 in Game 2, weren't able to mount the comeback. And then in Game 3, they're in that same scenario, and they equalize the game. That's just learning on the fly, learning from experiences. And I think the best situation, potentially, now whatever, but is that they played the London Knights. So you got to see how a championship team really steps up their game in the playoffs, and all these young kids are going to be better for it.
I'm glad you mentioned last year's feeling at the end of the year, Greg, because I tried to put that well back of me. But last year, driving home after the last game of the playoffs, that was the first time I was ever just had this feeling of, okay, it's done. Like, I'm glad it's done almost, because it was a pretty disappointing year. And I remember thinking, I hope I don't ever feel that, because it's fun coming to the rink. We have an awesome job. This is a blast to do. And this year is just kind of, I will say it, not just for the fans, but I think even for all of us, kind of reinvigorated us a little bit, right? Because you go from a lot of doom and gloom to so much optimism. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I hadn't started my reflection as much as you had, but you bring up a very good point.
I was gonna say, you have some finality to this already, eh? When is this podcast airing?
Maybe Friday, maybe Saturday. Depends how busy I am.
Yeah. Well, I agree with everything you said, right? Expectations are a funny thing, and I guess I'm going down the same thought process here, but yeah, certainly there's a different feeling, right? And I think communication with the fan base and how a team is covered affects everything, right? Everyone knows who's around the Owen Sound Attack now, knows that they are at the start of a cycle, that they're a team that is thinking not about now, but about some time from now, about next season and seasons beyond, right? And that wasn't the case last year. So, and that was just the reality of the situation. There was expectations from the top down in the organization that they were going to try to compete last season, and that just didn't happen. We all know that. Can we move on from last season now? Are you cool with
I was
that?
just about to say, do you think next year will be like 2 years ago?
But you bring up a good point. But and I don't know about the constant narrative, because there's been a lot of turnover player-wise, right? Like there is some player personnel on the Attack now that were part of that group last season, but the majority, beyond a small handful of who 17-year-olds now will be 18 next season, that has changed, right? And there's been a full changing of the guard almost from the coaching staff to the players on the ice. So I think it's been fun to see, and it's all it's positive. I believe this whole experience has been positive. I talked about that in this format for months when we were debating whether or not it is more valuable for this team to pick fourth, or more valuable for this team to pick, or more valuable for this team to play in playoff games. And I truly believe that, to go back to your question, this has all been great for all of the young players, and not even just the young players. It gives the overage players a chance to experience OHL playoff hockey one more time, the chance to be in those games, those super meaningful games in this league that they're doing it for the last time. So I think it's good for all involved.
Well, gentlemen, it's been a fantastic season. I know that we don't want this to be over, but for us to all be together again, it's going to have to be a Game 6. So that seems to be asking for a lot.
Right. Wait, you're not coming to London again?
Oh, I'm coming to London.
When we start the North Stars podcast.
Oh, come on.
What sport is
Greg
that?
Cowan.
I was being serious. We should do it.
We'll talk later. Matt, Greg, Mark, Adrian, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to miss hanging out with you guys on Saturday nights. I know all of our significant others are kind of happy about that fact, but
everyone is so defeatist here. Like, can we?
I'm not defeated. I'm just sad I'm not going to see you boys for a while and be able to have donuts in the media room.
Game 6.
We can always just come up
When's
here.
Game
if you guys
6
want.
Sunday?
We can always go to
Sunday at 2. See you guys there.
All right.
All right. We'll just meet here for a round of golf or something.
Yeah,
all right.
sure.
Thank you, boys. Cheers. Well, there you have it, the final episode of the Bear Tracker Weekly Podcast. Well, don't worry, it's only the final episode in terms of week-to-week coverage of this podcast. We will be back next season, of course, for a full year of covering the Owen Sound Attack. Our next episode might actually come next weekend. The Owen Sound Attack are gearing up for the OHL draft, which happens next weekend. Traditionally, the team does host a draft party at the Bay Shore. Assuming I don't have the full details yet, but assuming that is happening next weekend, I will try to get to Owen Sound to do some interviews with Dale DeGray and with the newest members of the Owen Sound Attack who get drafted. We'll have to wait and see how that all plays out this week. If you're looking for details on that potential draft viewing party, make sure you watch the Attack on social media or follow them at attackhockey.com. That is going to wrap it up. It's going to be so weird not having a next game. It's going to be so weird having my Saturday nights back again. But September will be here before you know it, and we'll be back for another season of the podcast and for Owen Sound Attack Hockey. Thank you so much for listening and watching the podcast, of course, on YouTube and Rogers TV. Again, thank you to Mark Perry for putting this video version of the podcast onto television screens. Thank you so much for listening wherever you get your podcast and for subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. It has been much appreciated, all the kind words I've received this season, so much feedback. So many people who enjoy the show. Thank you to all of you, and thank you to the regular members of our Media Room Roundtable, of course, who followed along with this crazy idea and would let me record them every week. Mark McKelvey, Adrian Musso, Matt Hermes, Greg Cowan. Really appreciate it, guys, and appreciate all the players and coaches who also were on the podcast this week. Again, also thank you, I should say, for setting up all those interviews, to Greg Hodnott and Amelia from The Attack. It was a pleasure to work with everybody again this season. Looking forward to being back on TV next season with our Rogers TV crew, of course, and to bringing you more episodes of this podcast. Thanks again to our guests this week. We just mentioned the Media Room Roundtable, but also Carter George, Landen Hookey. Gonna miss Landen a lot around here. And Tristan Delisle and head coach Scott Wray. Thank you. Thank you all so much. And that's going to wrap it up. We'll see you again at the rink sometime soon. Cheers.
The Bear Tracker podcast is produced in association with Blackburn Media from the CKNX studios in Wingham, Ontario. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe at Bear Tracker Pod on social media and wherever you get your podcasts.